Welcome back to SMNI. This is Business and Politics. Attorney Brenda Pimentel. We've been talking about seafarers and the larger picture, the blue economy. But if we talk about, the government priorities, as an advocate of blue economy, what would you recommend to the relatively new Marcos government? What should they be prioritizing?
Well, I think there should be a paradigm shift in the way we do planning, national planning in this country. We have had enough of the land-based planning. Let's include at least, we're an archipelago. We're always talking about being an archipelago. Jose Rizal, in his opening of the El Filibusterismo, talk about the Pasig, and that's how important to him, because he went to the Pitan and all these waters around his area in Mindanao. So the planning should not just be limited to shipyards, because that is what NEDA has been including in and we're not even there as far as shipbuilding is concerned. Seafaring is also very much a concern.
You were saying before our show that you just got back from Singapore, I think last week.
Oh, yeah.
You were visiting some Singaporean shipyards, and then your heart sank because you saw that the owners and executives were Singaporean and everybody else was Filipino.
Yes.
So we're missing, in a sense, we're missing that opportunity.
In a way, we're really sending them away to improve, develop other countries' maritime industry, while we are trying to get the best that we can that are available. But anyway, I think we still have a lot of them in the country. So I hope that I'm convener of what we call a movement for maritime Philippines. And we are saying that we should have a maritime agenda. National maritime agenda. That is what we are missing.
I am surprised that we don't have one.
We don't have one. But a national maritime agenda that is accepted and, known by everybody. I hope the President realizes that Presidential Decree 474 issued by President Ferdinand E. Marcos, the father, talked of a national maritime policy. But it is not seen as that. And, recently IMO came up with, how do you develop maritime policy? I am saying President Marcos in 1974 already developed one for the Philippines, and yet we have not looked at it that way. I hope we can go back to PD 474. I've been asking some friends in Marina to please look at PD 474.
That's interesting. When you talk about what the president has been doing, he's been to a number of international conferences, and these topics that we're talking about, there is a point where our national interest in the blue economy mixes with the international problems. I'm talking about the West Philippine Sea. How can what we're talking about? How can that help this policy? And because we're not talking about just administering our own resources, right? We're talking about actually competing with the claims of other countries, particularly China and others. But do you feel that there's a threat that maybe policymakers will be distracted by the diplomatic problems, and that they don't pay attention to this maritime roadmap that we're talking about?
No, we should. I think we should still pursue that one, and more intensely now. But at least, you have to also develop your local capabilities. When there is a disaster, how is it that you still look for ships who can help you transport, emergency lights or water to the affected island? It should be there even before it happens. How do you tell your ship owners that when there is an emergency, there is a typhoon or whatever, this is how we will mobilize you.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have that because we have never taught. And this is my favorite mantra, one of them. Filipino, think maritime.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what we should do. Even as we try to protect our sovereignty over our territorial waters, still, we have to develop our own capabilities. Do you have enough people who will really be able to assist in terms when there are calamities where you need divers, etc. Of course, you have the Philippine Coast Guard, the Navy, etc. But you have to have your own. How do you call it? In China, they have that the local people are able to mobilize immediately. So those are the things that should come into play, and I think we can do that only if we really think maritime and we have a national maritime agenda.
Well, you know, the president was also talking about maybe, you know, making the Philippines an upper middle country, and of course we have other parts of the Philippines that, you know, could contribute more to the growth. Mindanao, for example. But even during the campaign, I've repeatedly heard it still remains expensive to ship things from Mindanao to Manila. In fact, more expensive to ship things from Manila to a foreign country. And yet we have things in place like the cabotage law that was, you know, enacted in 2010, I believe. And the problems remain the same. What's missing? What can the new government do to not fall into the same pitfalls?
It's something that I have not really thought about, but I think it has something to do with efficiency.
Okay.
The way we operate things.
Okay.
You know, if you talk about China, in Singapore, they're very efficient. Like Singapore, for example, they produce their own. Not that they produce it, but they have this way of generating the oil, so they can sell it cheaper. So for our ship operators in the domestic domestic shipping industry, it's very expensive. And then, of course, the movement of the cranes. You know, as I said, efficiency of the equipment and all this. And plus the services, banking system, communication system, of course, with all this technology now, we should be able to improve it. But on the cabotage, you know, the cabotage has somehow been lifted in a sense that now, because before this law that was passed, international or foreign flagships can only call at selected ports. You know, the international ports that we have. So it's really very limited. But now they can call at many ports, but they are prohibited from carrying cargoes that should be carried domestically.
Okay.
So, but we have opened a lot of our ports now to international shipping. So, in a way, it has lifted. We have lifted the cabotage in that sense.
So, but your earlier example, the ball pen. So, how do we make it more affordable now if it comes from Manila? It seems that some people are saying, just to use it as an example, it'll be more expensive to have it shipped from Manila than to buy it from Hong Kong if you were in Mindanao.
Well, if, for example, it's a Japanese vessel, for example, the Muji ball pen.
Okay.
If it's coming from Japan, carried by a Japanese ship, and it discharges part of its cargoes of Muji ball pen in Manila, that ship is now allowed to go to Cebu and also discharge.
Okay.
So the same set of a set of Muji ball pen and then go to Mindanao to Davao. So now you don't have to move it from, let's say, Manila by domestic ship
and then
to Cebu, and then and then so it's, you know, all the things that they have to pay
along the way.
And of course doing business in the Philippines must be improved. I think it says a lot.
In the little time that we have left, is there anything else on your mind that policy-wise the government should look at, maybe to realize that dream of yours that maybe we should be thinking maritime?
Yeah, if we have a national maritime agenda, all agencies will have to align with the national objective. So DTI will have to ensure that we are able to identify where we can buy steel plates for our ships if we're into shipbuilding. Okay? And then, of course, Chad and Marina should ensure that we are compliant with STCW Convention, and also Marina should be able to at all times ensure safety of our ships, and together with DSWD, DOH, etc., be able to come up with a strategy by which to mobilize domestic shipping and even international shipping registered in the flagships of the Philippines to help in times of calamities. So everything will fall into place, and then then we have a real national maritime agenda. You don't just develop your own policy independent of all the other agencies' functions or core activities.
Well, Attorney Brenda Pimentel, it's been an interesting discussion. Thank you very much for your time. But before we go, maybe you'd like to leave our audience with a message or some final thoughts.
Well, as I say, Filipinos, whether you're a fisherman, kahit ikaw ay isang mangingisda, if you're in the highest level of politics in this country, let's all think maritime. And by the way, I want to give another favorite mantra. Let's support women in maritime.
Okay. Thank you very much, Attorney Brenda Pimentel. This has been Business and Politics. I'm Dante Klink Ang. I'd like to thank all those watching this program live and those watching the replay. I'd like to thank also Pastor Apollo Kibuloy for making this program possible. Thank you very much, and I'll see you all next week.